What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, Neurotic Nate here, and we're back. Episode 18. We are now officially a legal video style because I don't know where the fuck I was going with that. I'm gonna pinch that one off. Anyway, yeah, we're back. Just did some like weapon and armor upgrades and stuff. So I got a fresh new suit. It's quite nice. Is this full? I don't even know what this is. Yeah. Anyway, I got some interesting things to talk about today. Feeling a little low energy, but maybe that'll change. I just had a bite of some extra dark chocolate. At what point is it no longer considered, the modern version of chocolate? Like, what cacao percentage? Because 88%, like I have here, is tough to consider that. Consider it chocolate. 100 actually is just putrid. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting. I'm not sure how anyone eats that. I've eaten it before, but only to prove a point, I think. I think someone dared me to eat the 100% chocolate, or 100% cacao chocolate or whatever. Very hard to eat. I think 70 is the sweet spot. 70 is like sweet enough, but it's it's still bitter enough where you feel like you're not eating a Snickers bar, I guess. So if that's what you're going after, is to feel like you're eating something moderately healthy, I guess. It's all just a mental game anyway. It's not like you're still eating chocolate, fat ass, So I don't know, whatever. Anyway, something I think is interesting that I'm just making conjecture here, who knows, is like this, and I don't know, this is all, I recognize this. You ever just enjoy being the bad guy, right? Like the anti-hero. There's a whole thing behind it, right? So being like the overdog, if you will, and not even in a way that's like you have an advantage, but just like even being on the wrong side of devil's advocate. There's something more exciting about devil's advocate, and just kind of having nothing to lose, and I don't know, just again being the bad guy. I don't know, because there's a certain power that I think that you get when when you're the bad guy that you don't get if you're like this noble whatever, right? There's almost a level of unpredictability to it, which is why you are powerful in that sense, right? It's like, what's he gonna do? I don't know. And I guess I should have just watched the movie. I don't know why I didn't, but I can't sit still for a whole movie, so I'm not a big movie person. But the Joker, so I watched. I didn't know that the video was going to spoil the Joker movie, but it pretty much did. But anyway, he really falls into that category where he's an anti-hero, because he ends up, I don't even know what, he killed people or something. I wasn't really paying attention to the plot line of it. I was thinking more internally about the implications of his actions, and I guess how his life came to be. And I guess even part of it was just to evoke some sympathy on his behalf, right? To get people, not feeling so aghast at why somebody would go to the dark side or whatever. But you certainly notice towards the end where he's like the anti-hero is like, whatever. Where he's like truly this anti-hero. He's like, it's liberating. And I don't think that's totally in the sense that he's liberated in the sense that he's I I don't know, not doesn't have to work his clown job anymore or something, but just in the sense that like I don't know, people are kind of scared of it, you know. He's got like he evokes some fear into people. They don't. He's unpredictable, right? I think there's a certain level of unpredictability being, powerful, right? Versus if you are, if you have this very very strict moral compass that everyone knows that you go to hell and back to keep together. Your actions are much more consistent, right? Versus bad guy, you don't know. He could turn on a switch, right? He could con his own men or something. I don't know. But to me, I think there's just I don't know. To some extent, it's like more fun to be the bad guy, I guess. So I don't know. Sports is an easy way for people to get insight to, because I don't work in the galactic scale of these Marvel movies where there's like some ultimate villain or something and there's some ultimate hero. No one works on that level, but I think the closest we can get as normal ass people is like, I don't know, you join a frisbee club or something and you're playing frisbee and you can be like the hero, right? So I mean, in that sense, like, I guess you'd be the bad guy if you just ran around, punting some, the 12-year-old at some dad broad instead, I guess you'd be the bad guy and stuff. But I mean, that no one wants to play with that person, obviously. But I guess it is kind of a stupid example if there's not like real stakes involved. But I don't know. There's a certain level of being the bad guy that's fun. It's like this anti-hero complex. I guess you might see it more too on just people that operate in the bowels of the internet. So on these 4chan and Reddit people that are, I don't know, God knows what's going on in their realm, but it's there's a certain lack of control that maybe they it gives them a sense of power, So I don't know. It's an interesting thought, at least, of why we're attracted to this anti-hero. And, like, to use a Rick and Morty example, just because I think that's where, I don't know, that's an easy one for people to get. Rick Sanchez, in a lot of ways, is an anti-hero, right? He's like, and maybe he's more human. So I'm thinking more in a more abstract sense, where they're less human, maybe, and more just like, truly unpredictable. Because in some ways, Rick is predictable in the sense that, like, he's going to, I guess he's predictably unpredictable, like, right? He's going to do what he wants. But ultimately, like, he's not going to kill Morty. He's not going to do this and that. But, what if you didn't even care? And like, to some extent he doesn't, but, like, there's certain things that he'll do and he won't do, right? But this level of complete, like, I don't know, you don't know their next move, right? I don't know, I feel like I've seen this when you get a little bit of this in, like, I don't know, it's like those James Bond movies or something when the government's like, oh, we can't figure him out or whatever, and they're all like, what's going on? And they're all going crazy. And, like, the evil guy or whatever is just like, there's a certain level, he's powerful there because they don't know his next move, right? He's unpredictable. I don't know, for some reason I feel like that's a common, like, draw. And there's even a little bit, like, as much as most of the time you're voting for the hero to prevail and kill the guy and the government to find the villains and arrest them and justice be served or whatever, to some extent you're like damn, like, it's kind of badass, he's like, or I guess another way to say it, think of it's like this lone hacker that, like, hacks into the government and does all this stuff, but it's like the entire body of the government versus, like, one rogue hacker. And I guess that's more of an underdog story. And earlier I was just talking about being the overdog, so I'm kind of, I guess, violating my own rules there. But I don't know, it's not even about overdog or underdog. I think it might come down to unpredictability, and that being like the determination on, I guess the thrill of it, right? You don't know what's coming, kind of thing. I don't know. I don't even know why I thought about that, but I guess I saw that video about like the Joker and thought it was an interesting topic that like not only people feel sorry for the Joker, but in some sense there's some some power in the in the sense that he's this just a regular guy that all of a sudden is now like has become powerful because of his unpredictability and what he flip of switch he went crazy kind of thing. And I don't know, I guess in some ways I kind of agreed in the sense that not all of us are too far off of going crazy and I'm not saying to that extent, but I don't think you're ever as far away from losing it all as you might think you are, right? So secure as you'll ever be, right? You don't really realize how close you are from losing everything, right? You could have a bad accident, or there's one, you get blackmailed or something, and all of a sudden, like, your whole life can be upturned. So you're never that secure. And I think the point in that movie even was to recognize that how fickle security is, and even like, oh no, I have a great girlfriend and my dog that loves me, or whatever. Like, it would be 1 week, lose your job, girlfriend cheats on you, dog gets run over and killed, and like your house burns down. So it's like everything that you've considered secure could just be out the window, right? And if your sanctity and your sanity is rooted in those physical things, it can be permanently damaging to this thing where who knows, you might go crazy. Most people probably just get depressed or something, which is probably the best response. But some people, they wouldn't respond in a way that's like, woe is me. It'd be, more angry. And I think maybe there's a level where it pushes you to anger, and that might be where the Joker was kind of circulating. Again, I haven't actually watched the whole movie. I don't know why I'm giving like this comprehensive review of the whole thing when I haven't even fucking watched it. So maybe I should just watch it. Either way, I truly do. I agree with the idea that these, the security of your, not only your life, but your sanity is fickle, right? It's not as concrete. And I guess, I don't know, one way to be more concrete in your sanity is to, I don't know, talk to yourself and really discover what, discover what the stakes are. What do you have to lose? What could you lose, right? And it's easy to kind of point to the big things like, oh, I could lose my job and that would be bad. It's like, okay, well, that probably wouldn't be the thing that, to push you over the edge and make you go crazy. And I don't know, some people just aren't the angry types, but there's even people that I think are they don't know themselves, right, in that way, right? Until you've lost everything. I'm not sure if you want to like experiment to figure out what kind of person you are under those extreme circumstances, but I think at one point or the other, I would hope that nobody has to go through it, but at some point you could lose everything, right? And then you really discover who you are, and a lot of times it manifests itself in some kind of addiction. That's why some people, it blows my mind that people are like, oh, I don't know how anyone ever gets addicted to drugs, or I don't know how anyone does this and that, or does one of these terrible crimes. And it's like, I can very well see situations in which a lot of these things happen. And I think if nothing else, what that, at least from what I know about the movie and my limited knowledge of it, having not seen it, I think it at least cleared up the fact that, okay, like we can humanize a little more these inhumane acts, right? I don't know, because you tend to sympathize with that a little more. Of course, now that it's this nice Hollywood production, right? But of course, if it was just someone's life and if there wasn't this attractive actor and it was instead this fat guy or something, you'd be like, oh, what a piece of shit, like burying his dreams and killing people or whatever. But since it was, I don't know, was his name Christian Bale or something? I don't even know if that's the right actor. I don't even fucking know. I should watch the movie, and I should also. I don't know anything about actors, so it's not like. Maybe he's Batman. I don't even know. Fuck, whatever. Anyway, it's easy to sympathize with that, who like plays this great character and whatever. But I think people's lives tend to be, equally as traumatic, but not on such a I don't know, an attractive scale, right? So instead of, the literal event of, somebody dying or something traumatic outright happening, it's just maybe one day you, have a sobering thought and it really, your world comes crashing down internally. All your dreams were stupid or something, or maybe this important relationship was built on sand and maybe to the outside doesn't seem like much. It's like, okay, well, it's just, I don't know, one thing fell through or one relationship wasn't what you felt it was, but then to other people it can be perceived as this intense point of inflection in their life. Point of inflection, I think, is it's a mathematical term of like the concavity of a curve changing, but I think it applies really well to, I don't know, your points in your life where the trajectory of your life changes. So these inflection points. And I don't know if you've experienced a point of inflection of some kind, whether it be it doesn't have to be a traumatic event that triggers it, right? It just most often is, right? Most often you're not pushed to some level where you would have some life-changing moment. Most people don't have a life-changing moment while they're taking a dump on a Tuesday morning, right? They have a life-changing moment, after, their dog dies or something. I don't know. Whatever people are emotionally attached to, that's tends to be what the hell? Oh my God. Tends to be what causes those points of inflection, and not just like, these random things. So it's not to say that, oh, you should do something terrible to yourself so that you can, achieve some point of inflection. I don't know. That's obviously like, that'd be a stupid solution. But just tending to recognize that's when those things tend to occur, is during those traumatic experiences. And if you have been fortunate enough to avoid them, you tend not to have sympathy for people that struggle with some kind of problem, right? I would like to think I'm not incredibly far off something, me doing a bunch of dumb shit, as much as I would say, oh, I'm this perfect angel, I would never do anything wrong, I'm such a great person, I recycle, there's nothing I would do, all this shit, whereas like, in reality, you might be, a horrible week, a horrible day, a horrible hour, a horrible month, whatever, a horrible year away from, just losing your mind. And, there's obviously not much you can do to, I don't know, like, control that, I guess. Because, things just happen, right? It's not like you have a choice. But I think at least having some sympathy is good, right? That's not even going to work, whatever. So at least understanding that it's not like these people you're not better than them because you've been fortunate enough to avoid, points of inflection, I guess, and for lack of using any better words. So I don't know. That's kind of this like anti-hero premise that I see a lot. That is, at least to me, is a very realistic idea, and is one that obviously I don't consider myself an anti-hero. I don't consider myself really much of a hero of anything. If anything, I hope I'm just, I don't know, not either, I guess. I don't know. Do you see yourself as the hero of your? Because I certainly, in no way do I consider myself a hero of my like life or something. If my life were a book, I might be the main character, right? I think we all should be the main character of our books, but my journey doesn't really strike me as a hero, right? Or that of an anti-hero. It's not like I, have lost control and I'm now this like contained psychotic, you know, maybe I am. I don't know. You can make your judgment off these videos if you know you're some armchair psychologist and want to tell me what's wrong with me. I don't know, but I certainly wouldn't. I put myself nicely in the middle of an anti-hero. I think and hero, that is. I think another way would just, I mean, I don't really, it's more boring just to be like your average Joe, but I also don't really see myself as this like, you know, non-contributor. Maybe I'm just more of a troll. That might be my thing. I don't know. I kind of thriving in chaos is not that I like seek chaos, but I kind of you know, subscribe to a more absurdist take on the world. You know, the world by nature is this you know, this absurd place, and we're here trying to make sense of it. And you know, you can try and do right and wrong, but ultimately, you know, your efforts are most likely going to be in vain. So it's you know, a hero wouldn't believe in that, right? They have this like unburning hope, right? We're going to save the world, right? And which is noble, right? But ultimately for someone like me I see is pretty unrealistic. Bunch of bullshit. But I don't know. It's Jesus fuck, this is a mess. Whatever. But I don't know. It's not like I'm some like Reddit troll. I don't do any of that stuff. But I'm very aware of the you know, the unfairness of life. It's not like I'm trying to fight for some, you know, inequality. I guess part of this might come down to what I've dubbed as like the fairness paradox. This is what I call it. You know, I think especially with keeping in mind the you know, absurdity of the world, and to some extent how little control we have over everything. You know, spending your life in pursuit of, I don't know, making things fair, or making things right, or doing the right thing all the time is in some ways fruitless. It's like, I don't know. I think, and this is where the paradox comes in. I think, again, without any real mathematical backing behind this, but I think in an effort to make things more fair, you are just as likely to make things less fair. So, for example, if your life goal was to, I don't know, I have to pick a stupid example because I can't do anything really applicable just because it's, you know, it's a slippery slope then, because you can hit me with targeted arguments. I'm trying to make it abstract because that leaves the most interpretation available. But say that like my goal is to, you know, I don't know, more mangoes should be sold in Texas. I don't know, I'm just making it up. You know, I think I could, you know, perhaps try and create some systemic change about, you know, mango representation in Texas, and maybe I open my own mango stand or something, and maybe like on a small scale, or for the next couple of years, or the years while I'm alive, maybe there's an uptick or something in, you know, mango sales in Texas. Maybe this is a horrible example. I don't know why I chose mangoes in Texas. But ultimately, I think I would have just as much of a chance. Like, the most likely impact is 0, right? In terms of like the 1,000-year number of mangoes. Like, maybe mangoes that don't even exist in 1,000 years. I don't know. But it's just more likely that I could do more damage to the mango market in Texas than I would to do, you know, positive change, right? Because, you know, ultimately maybe there's someone who's equally determined for the opposite. They hate mangoes and they're from Texas, so they spend their life, you know, offsetting whatever difference I make in the mango of Texas. And I'm not saying there's a 50-50, a 1-to-1 relationship between people doing good and people doing bad. You know, honestly, if I'm being honest here, frankly, it's, you know, the bad people probably outnumber the good, right? To some level. And there's probably a fair argument to be made on both sides. And I guess it depends on whether you believe in the innate goodness of humans, right? with nothing else, I believe in the innate selfishness of humans, and generally that tends to be good for oneself and bad for the collective. Which again, I don't think is like that's not. It shouldn't be something that's like frowned upon, right? And I shouldn't like dedicate my whole life to making people less selfish, right? But for someone that is dedicated to that, there's people that are dedicated to the opposite, right? And again, it's not one to one, but ultimately, I think if you combine all of the life's efforts, all of the pursuits towards fairness, you really have likelihood to make as much of a difference as you are likelihood to make no difference as you are to make a negative difference, right? Whatever that might be. So, in an effort to make something more fair, the likelihood of you making it less fair, or just as fair, or any marginal is equally likely. So, I mean, it kind of begs the question, why bother, right? It's okay, why bother everything? I'm not saying that you just have zero hope and just do nothing with your whole life because it's all doesn't mean anything, You said it, not me. I think, again, I kind of live in this absurdist mindset where, it is, okay, fine, like I'm going to address, let's say the fairness paradox, as I put it, is a universal truth, right? It's just something that will happen. So, okay, my solution is to do nothing, like, yeah, real smart, genius. No, I think it's good to have hope. I think recognizing that maybe, that is recognizing life is absurd, and the fairness paradox might be a real thing, right? It is one thing that you could do, but that being said, still pursuing still having hope, despite it being stupid. Like, yes, like it's stupid, but it's also necessary, because otherwise everyone would just be, blowing their brains out, not doing anything, or just purposely being trolls because there's nothing else to do and life's pointless, whatever. And you have this entire class of nihilists that, operate just on making the world more chaotic, which isn't good. Like you ultimately need hope to balance out despair. And, it's obviously it's more noble to be hopeful, but maybe it's more realistic to be disparaging. And I'm not a proponent of either party. I'm just making the point that, you're not Superman if you're all about hope and about good, positive things, and you're not the devil, the boogeyman, if you're someone who's more pessimistic, right? You're both wrong, right? So, it's kind of the way I see it. And again, it comes down to this idea of trying to be balanced with everything. Oh my fuck! I don't know why I even do this. And maybe have this nice balance of awareness of despair, but a mindset of hope. So like, you could take action on, with hopeful premise in mind, with the awareness that it's, maybe the odds are stacked against you, or maybe you have no chance. I don't know. But it's like, again, it's no way to really live. Especially, if everyone took that advice, you'd have, at least the advice of being disparaging. It'd be a shit show. It'd be a mess. So you need people that have this kind of stupid confidence in, things working out, right? Regardless of its like, it being kind of a dumb thing. It's good ultimately for society as a whole, I think. But I don't know. I think, recognizing. Oh my fucking god. Oh no. I think recognizing both sides is important. So, like I said, being this happy-go-lucky, jolly old chap with all this great, I'm gonna change the world, and everyone's gonna be fed, and everyone's gonna be whatever their dreams are, whatever the fuck. Okay, buddy. Good. You should pursue that. That's good. We need somebody that's working on that. But don't become the Joker when it all blows up in your face. Because it's because the world ain't like that. I don't know. We can change the world to be like that. Again, my unfairness paradox. the likelihood of you changing the world is equally likely as you making it worse. So I'm not saying don't try, but at least be aware that you may not be doing anything good with whatever noble cause you're going to dedicate your life towards. But please, like you should dedicate your life to something. Otherwise you're this life full of doomers that aren't looking forward to anything. Or these absolute buzzkills to be around. Like ride the line, right? Jesus Christ, this is a mess. Be somewhere in the middle, where you're not foolish, maybe, but you're also not just this deadbeat who's got no higher no subscription to something that is greater than themselves, right? So I think it's very natural and biological to be selfish to an nth degree, where there's no real point in looking out for anyone other than yourself. But it's I don't know, it's not as fun to live that way, I think. Not as rewarding. I don't know. There's a whole argument to be made there, so I don't know. Anyway, which is why it kind of blows my mind that, like, even if you adopt this anti-hero persona and like you identify strongly with that mentality, like why murder exactly? Just to, like, maybe it's something that is like a universally outlawed experience, and you as someone that truly doesn't care, you're just an experience-seeking selfish being, which again maybe objectively you might be, scientifically at least. Maybe murder's one thing that's like completely off limits by everyone. Like anyone with a brain is not gonna be a proponent of murder. But so it's like one of the first thing your mind goes to is, oh, I'm gonna kill somebody. I don't know, maybe it's the ultimate form of some kind of revenge against a society that didn't give you everything you wanted. Well, again, I think that comes down to maybe balancing expectation. Like, did you really expect everything to work out perfectly? Like, I've established a precedent that life is, so far away from being fair that it's not. You should never consider it a fair in-out game, right? It should be considered an unfair game. I don't know. Not to the extent that you have to accept personal responsibility, to the extent that you're constantly beating yourself up with these ridiculously high expectations because it's my fault, everything's not fair, it's my fault, I have to whatever. That's not it either. Certain things you should just deflect on the world being absurd and it's not fair. Other things maybe you should accept personal responsibility for and realize that, okay, life's not fair, but I'll get over it. Again, it's all at balance is where my mind keeps going. Right? You need kind of this yin yang. I don't know. Maybe that's like this uber genius take, is just this yin yang balance of good and evil, balance of everything. But it's not fun to live that way. People like living on the edges and being because then you're just average. Like if you're balanced in everything, you're just, I don't know, statistically, maybe you're just the average. Maybe there's not that many average people out there because everyone's not average in some other way, right? But it's more fun to be, this radical on one side and kind of commit to one series arc instead of having this, like, neatly balanced skill set, right? So if you think of it like a video game, right, where you have these points that you can distribute among different skill trees, right? Like, giving yourself 5s across the board, like 5 out of 10 across the board, is you don't play with that. Like, you're either like the archer and you max out your range statistic, or you're the wizard and you match out your whatever the wizard is. I don't even know I'm not even talking about a game here, a real game at least. But you've seen those games where you have these points you can distribute into skill trees. No one plays with the average of everything. Like, that's no one plays that way. Like, you max out one thing and then you just abuse that tactic because you're OP in that regard, right? You have like the most range or the best wizard power, or whatever the fuck it is. And that's also mean how you play. But, so some way you can look at life as like a game like that where, why would you bother like trying to be this balanced, even Steven, jack of all trades when you just try to max out on one skill tree and just like abuse that because you're better than everyone at it. I think that's what's rewarded in business or in the money-making world. That's why I'm going to use business as the money-making world. Because like, why would I hire a doctor who's good at all of it, or like your average doctor? I want the best one, right? I want the best guy, right? I want the person who knows the most, or I want you don't want these, you want the superlative, you don't want the cumulative of, so I don't know, superlative, being the superlative is rewarded very much so. So, and, but you also kind of tend to block yourself off, even just psychologically, from, I don't know, thinking outside of your, if you max out your wizard statistic, you're going to think like a wizard, and, you're going to be mad at the archers for some stupid, making it into a social context. Because ultimately, video games are not a social thing. Like, often in those games, you're not interacting with other players that have their own skill sets, right? So you tend not to see things from the other skill set perspectives. I don't know. I mean, this whole metaphor might just be stupid. So either way, it might be interesting if you're, I don't know, maybe it's an interesting way of putting it, or at least a unique way of putting it. But yeah, I don't know. Speaking of businesses, something else that is just frustrating, and is just, I've seen a huge amount of, and I guess I talked about this a little bit with drop shipping and like the drop shitters, but I just want to touch on it again because I just have seen more examples of it as of late. So my whole spiel with drop shipping was that these companies provide no, like, you're not adding any value. Like, you are a middleman. Like, you're just making an existing product more expensive by putting it on your shitty Squarespace website, and trying to peddle it and sell it, whatever. So you're running your own little mini pyramid scheme with one player in the pyramid, because you're just siphoning all the traffic and just basically cutting a margin off of a product that you don't even make or buy or do anything. Anyway, so the reason that makes me angry is it's an empty business model, right? Like, again, you're not adding any value. You're just kind of this middleman who's again not doing anything. But I think it's a misnomer that is only applies in, like, I don't know, the drop shipping context, right? There's a lot of other business models that are like good money making business models, but ultimately they suffer from the same ideology failure. Like, you're not adding anything. All you're doing is siphoning more money out of a system. And like, yes, you can make money with it, like, absolutely, but you're also not doing anything good. Like, you're just a piece of shit. And I guess fine. I guess I just made a point about the whole, do whatever you want, but like, okay, fine. Like, that's fair too. But to me, I think I would never try to operate something like that, because why the hell would you ever want to operate some empty business model where you're just essentially like, oh, like, I'll, I don't know, I'll, increase your LinkedIn followers or something. I don't even know. And then I'll spam people. And then, again, you're not adding any value. Like, right, someone's paying you to do a bunch of busy work. I mean, what the value is, okay, you're just already boosting someone's fake LinkedIn followers or something. Right? So it's fucking bullshit. I don't know. Just there's a lot of, especially like Web3 technology, like these blockchains that tend to all have these, we're going to revolutionize the way that payments are made. Now we're going to, do payments through, 3 layers of blockchain or something like that. It's like, okay, you are still contributing nothing to the transaction, right? Other than just shuffling it through a couple more currencies. You're not adding anything You're not creating any kind of good product. Like at least the people that create some masterclass and sell it, like I'll even give them a pass because okay, you have tried to make content that is, in your niche that is going to teach somebody something, right? There could be value there, right? I'm not saying it's good, but at least it's not completely empty. But like a lot of these, blockchain technology things are legitimately, you're not adding anything. You're just clogging up. You're adding more bureaucratic red tape to, now this new area of advertisements, except now everything's got to be blockchain, right? People might get money for it because it's got blockchain in the title. It's got to be smart. You're not adding any value. It's an empty, it's a clever idea. I can, instead of jumping through one hoop and using one app to buy something on Amazon and save 3 cents, I'm now spending an extra $2, but my traffic is double encrypted through 4 layers of Ethereum and Bitcoin. It's but okay. And then, the business model is we take 2% of these transactions that we funnel through. It's again, you're not adding it. You didn't make any new additions or thing. You're not adding anything of value into the collective world. You're adding an essentially additional layer of red tape, right? Unless the security has a very niche and applicable thing, right? Maybe you work for huge wire transfers or something that has to be secure, right? And you have partnered with corporations because they have a problem with losing big payments or something, whatever. Then maybe there's value there in that specific scenario. But there's a lot of these especially B2C blockchain technologies where you're selling directly to customers, and you're not the customer's getting no value out of they're just doing it because it's cool, right? It's it's not anything of value that you're creating. It's a money making scheme. And again, I'm not saying you can't make money off it. And you go, oh well, I made 20,000. Great. I'm not saying that you can't make money off it. I'm saying it's stupid. Simple as that. So I don't know. These empty business models are just things that piss me off. Especially when it's blatantly just about making money. It's it's one thing to try and be subtle about it. Maybe we donate 2% to, I don't know, deaf people or something. It's because my grandfather's deaf or something, so I'm gonna help out the deaf people. It's okay, now there's some some positive change there or something. I don't know, maybe there's an argument to be made at least, but otherwise there's literally no argument to be made for why it's not just completely useless. It's just frustrating, I guess, and it also comes back to this fairness paradox where it's you trying to help the deaf could just as easily not help them than it would to actually help them. I don't know. Pretty stupid. I think trying to live by the fairness paradox is truly a tough precedent to live by, and maybe it's one to keep deep psychologically, but not use in your decisions. Because again, I think having hope is a stupid but necessary idea to hold and to have. So it's I don't know, whatever. That's my thing. Something else I think is interesting is maybe Vsauce made a video about this at some point. I don't really know, but why do we I guess there's a whole scientific argument on this, which is one thing. I'm just speaking more of the social aspect of it, but being scared is I don't know, it's a thrilling thing, right? You kind of enjoy being scared, but at the same time, it's you don't enjoy it in the sense that you want to be scared all the time, and you're over something that's oh, you're scared you're going to lose your job. That's not a good type of scared. That's the wrong one. I'm talking about the more pleasure level of scare. And I guess it makes it begs the question, the difference between you scared of losing your job versus you scared in some horror movie, right? I wonder neurologically at least what's the what's the difference, right? I'm sure chemically there is a difference, between those two, two being scared scenarios. But it's still interesting to think that kind of the same fear is we seek that fear to a certain extent, but we also like avoid it, right? And we're like scared of being scared. I don't know. Fear is an interesting like emotional response to things. Especially, it's like we have these periods where we seek being scared. I don't know. Would you put it in the same category of like desire to be sad for something? Because I think there's days and times where maybe you just feel like a piece of shit. I don't know. It happens. But you like kind of just want to feel like a piece of shit. You don't really want to make anyone. You don't want anyone to make you feel better. You just kind of want to wallow and feel bad for yourself in the world or something. I don't know. But it's like that's a real thing. I guess a legitimate like desire is to be sad sometimes, and like some days you just want to be angry, some days you want to be happy. I don't know. It's like you can't always have this. Oh, I'm so happy. I can just I'm always happy. I'm always happy. Like, okay, fuck you. Like you're insufferable. But there's times where you want to be sad, just like there's times where you want to be scared. And I guess the context is important in terms of when and where you'd like to be sad, or when and where you'd like to be scared, because it does depend. I will say pretty strongly on the environment, but it's just interesting that we both seek and avoid at all costs these emotions that maybe chemically are the exact same, and it's all to do with context, right? So I enjoy being scared and watching a movie or a video game or something where I know there's no real stakes involved, versus it's not the same, being scared that you're going to die in real life. Maybe not. It's probably not the same thrill. And I wonder, like historically, you go back in time, like maybe the caveman era or something. There wasn't any way to like artificially get them scared, right? They didn't have like videos to watch and to make them scared to like give them impression, right? Maybe they weren't as complex, but I'm speaking maybe not cavemen, but like the intermediates, where they were capable and had higher level emotional intelligence, but not enough technology to be able to harness it into something they could seek out, right? I wonder what that was like. I don't know. I don't really have any any other insights, and other than the fact that I think it'd be it's interesting to think about, right? That we now have the privilege of being able to seek out these desires to feel certain emotions, right? Whereas maybe you just acted in ways that you just did more impulsive things if you wanted to be scared, right? Maybe that's where it really came to fruition. So maybe it's a good thing that technology gives us this outlet, right? Where if I wanted to be angry or wanted to be scared, I wouldn't have to go do something to relieve that. I guess the real damning example here is like being horny, right? So instead of being horny back in the old days and running around town with a boner trying to I don't even know whatever. You can it's much easier now to satisfy that. And I'm not sure if that's an emotional desire. That's more of a physical monkey level desire where you're just kind of following your basic biological impulse. So maybe it's not on the same level as something more complex, like fear. Fear is a more complex emotion, I think, or because being horny is not an emotion, right? I'm not sure if there's a good way to categorize it. Physiological response, because fear and horniness both fit into those categories. I don't know. It's interesting to think about and just kind of consider, both ends of that, and especially as we've progressed, some things have obviously gotten a lot easier, but where does that kind of put us, right? Is it a net good? It really depends on what scope you're looking at it and where you draw, I don't know what what extent do you draw the line? And, you know, I don't know. Good and bad is so subjective. It's hard to say that. I have a whole thing on good and bad, and you know, those like super wavy terms that aren't defined really well by anything. I mean, you can take like utilitarian look on it, and it's totally different than like your, I don't know, pragmatic kind of layman look at it. I don't know. You can, for most things, it's very black and white. You know, murder, bad. Giving to the hungry, good. It's like, okay, idiot. We're not, obviously I'm not talking about these like blatant ass easy examples. I'm talking about the you know, those classic moral dilemmas. Even though I just hate that discussion as a whole. Like, really, the discussion of good and bad as like, or ethics of like these like good and bad examples, and these brain teaser fuck things where it's like there's not a right option, right? Do you run over the one murderer or kill like the 5 other people? I don't even know. There's always these stupid like train examples or whatever. Either way, I think they're all kind of stupid, and like there's not a great answer for any of them. So it's like this great debate to have. Like, oh, do you do this to save a baby? You know, well, how smart's the baby going to be? Oh, well, you're discriminating based on that. So like, it all becomes this whole thing where it's like you have to, you know, it's this emotional blackmail game that you have to play with yourself. But those are stupid. I don't like those. That's just why I don't really like talking about good and bad as like these, you know, these terms that should be used in like discussion, right? Oh, I think this is bad. I think this is good. And it's like, okay, Sherlock, thanks for your great insight. Oh, it's good. Killing people's bad. Great. I didn't know that. I need you to tell me. I don't know. The discussion becomes so elementary, it's not worth having. It's like, well, no shit, Jack. Of course that's bad. Or it's become so, you know, convoluted and like hard that like people get really uncomfortable of you talking about stuff that is, you know, I don't know. It's interesting to, well, it's not interesting to talk about. I don't like talking about it, so I'm not going to. Let's see what I got. Anything interesting here? Ooh, Impaling 4 is good. I like that. Unbreaking 3 is also a good one. Sweet. Anyway, I'm not even sure why I'm enchanting still. I mean, I'm so far past that in this world. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'll just pinch it off there. I don't know. It's been a good discussion. Again, I think it takes me like 5 minutes to warm up on these things. I feel like maybe I should, I don't know. I'm still going to just start recording. I don't want to place too much pressure on any of these because the whole point is I don't want to give a fuck about them. So I don't know. It is what it is. Anyway, you like my tree? It kind of looks like shit. Fuck. Whatever. All right. See you guys next time. Peace out.